The views expressed on the Jerry Cahill CF podcast are that of Jerry Cahill and guests, and not necessarily those of the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Nothing on the Jerry Cahill CF podcast should be considered medical advice. Such advice can only be given by a physician who is experienced with cystic fibrosis. The Boomer Esiason Foundation, Jerry Cahill and guests cannot be held responsible for any damage which may result from using the information on this podcast without the permission of your medical doctor. You're listening to the Jerry Cahill CF podcast presented by the Boomer Esiason Foundation and jerrycahill.com.
Welcome to Jerry Cahill's Living, Breathing, Succeeding podcast series. This show, Relationships with CF, both friendship and romantic, has been made possible through an unrestricted educational grant from Gilead to the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Today you'll meet Clara Charles. Clara, 20 years old from Hastings-on-Hudson, New York, was diagnosed with CF in utero. Clara is a singer, actor, and musical theater major at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. Performing since age 5, Clara has performed in over 40 productions in school with her community theater, Clock Tower Players in Irvington, New York.
It's the last midnight, soon it will be boom, squish. Told a little lie, stole a little gold.
Clara will be sharing her experiences on telling friends and those that she's been involved with romantically about CF.
Hi, I'm Clara. I'm a sophomore musical theater major at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. I'm a huge musical theater fan. I love singing, dancing, acting. In high school, I was a swimmer. I played all kinds of sports. I enjoy spending time with my family, my twin brother, my little brother, and my parents. I love hanging out with my friends and my boyfriend, playing with my bunny, sewing, doing all kinds of activities. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm 20 years old and I have cystic fibrosis. I've always been very open about having CF. My parents were always very encouraging about it and wanted to share with the people in my community, whether it was fundraising or to come to the CF walk. So I've always been extremely open about it. I started telling people about cystic fibrosis when I probably entered about elementary school. At snack time or lunch, I had to go take my medications at the nurse's office, so I'd bring a buddy, or I'd be late to school because of my treatments. So I was very open about telling my classmates. I would always tell people that I was in theater with that I had cystic fibrosis. It just was helpful if I had to miss rehearsals, if I was sick, if anybody else was sick and we had to do a scene together, they would know to wash their hands more or know that maybe we couldn't touch in that rehearsal that day. I think telling them was a big step in our relationship to keep us close and so they knew what was going on in my life. CF definitely affects a lot of relationships. If people aren't ready to handle something that could potentially be very difficult in life, then they're not ready to be friends with me or in a relationship with me. People can be pretty immature, and if I don't think that somebody's going to be fully there for me or supportive, then it's not worth my time. It's difficult to tell when the right time is to tell somebody that you have CF, but I usually start not right away, but definitely at the beginning of the relationship, I will say, hey, I have cystic fibrosis. It's a disease that affects my lungs and pancreas and digestive system. That's something that I have to take pills for, I have to do treatments for. Just let them know what is going on in my life. I do think that there's a little bit of a difference with friendships versus romantic relationships. Friends, they don't have to be as involved with the process as a romantic relationship. If the romantic relationship is going to move forward, they need to be able to support you in the rough times when, you might be sick. And if you're living together, they might have to take care of you. There's always the fear of, what if you die younger and then they're left alone? I mean, it's a scary thing for, I'm 20 years old. It's a scary thing for young people to think about their partner dying or being sick at such a young age. It's scary to think that they won't accept you for all of you, even, all the flaws that you have. You want somebody to accept you for everything, flaws and all. And I think that it's scary to put yourself out there and then think maybe they won't want me after this. Maybe this is the straw that makes them think, hey, I don't want to be with this person. And you could really, really like them. I think it's important for my friends and my romantic partners to know about my CF because it is a big part of who I am. I mean, I have to do things for it every day, and it can't just be ignored. It's really important that I have that support system with my friends and my romantic relationships, that they're there for me in times where, things might be a little bit more difficult. So it's really important that they know. When I'm telling people, I'm definitely very straightforward about it. I say, I have cystic fibrosis. It's a lung disease that affects my lungs, my pancreas, and my digestive system. It can be terminal. And I do outright say that to the people that I meet. I think it's really important to be very honest and upfront about it. It's easier to tell people about my cystic fibrosis now that I'm older because I have a better understanding than when I was younger. When I was younger, I didn't really know what to say or really what the disease was. I just knew that I had to do treatments that I didn't really like to do or take medicines. So I think now that I'm older, it's much easier to explain to somebody what's going on. I think a lot of anxieties come with relationships in CF. I've been in a committed relationship for 3 years now with my boyfriend. 2 months ago, I got the flu because my boyfriend got the flu. So you need to be extra cautious with your partner, and your partner needs to know that they need to be, almost as cautious as you around other people who could be sick. I've had conversations with my boyfriend about, marriage and getting engaged. And we already know that if that does happen down the line, kids are not something that we want in our future. We'll have a dog family. But I think that those conversations can be really hard because you want to make sure that your partner is prepared to face these things. And, there is the possibility that I won't be there. Like, we could get married and then a couple years down the line, hopefully a bunch of years down the line, I could pass away, and then, he's alone, or they're alone. So it is a very scary thing thinking about the future. I would say for people who have cystic fibrosis and are entering a romantic relationship, it's really important to be honest, especially if you want something serious with that partner. And I know that it can be very scary and daunting, but in the end, you want somebody who is going to support you and be there for you. And if they can't accept the fact that you have cystic fibrosis, then they're not accepting you fully for you. So it's really important that you do tell them.